rocking with Texas!
He's a 10.
I choose this family.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 44 of 911 Lone Star Roundup. I'm one of your hosts, Grace, and with me are my lovely co-hosts, Katie.
Hi guys.
And EJ.
Hey everyone.
Today we will be talking about Season 5's natural disaster of 911 OG, which was, of course, the blackout. We'll be talking about episodes 1 through 5 of the 5th season of 911, which were titled Panic, Desperate Times, and Desperate Measures. And this is a lot to cover, so let's get talking.
Yes. So, yeah. I don't know. I just rewatched these, so, I actually liked them a little bit better, but I definitely have, a little bit of issues with them. But, we'll get to that later.
We'll just save that for later.
Yeah, exactly. So we started off on, the Hollywood Boulevard with, the dramatic music and the animal scene.
Oh,
and we slowly hear the animals as, the music continues, which watching this, I was like, okay, this is why I remember liking the premiere, is because of all that. But sadly, we don't get the animals until episode 2, which,
Right.
I was like, watching this live made it worse, or just when it's actually airing on TV and stuff rather than.
And when you're expecting it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I was hoping we'd get that in the first episode, but we didn't get to episode 2, so I was like, damn it, we had to wait another week just to see this. This is
Right.
probably the most hyped up thing, but that's because we got it in the promos, so we were excited for it, and we're like, oh my god, Buck's gonna just spew off all these animal facts, it's gonna be everything.
Which he did.
And it was
not as much as I would have liked. He did.
Yeah. But, it didn't happen right off the bat, but I find it funny when, the giraffe comes up and Bobby's just like, whoa. When he sees the giraffe, which I get, it's a 7-foot animal, I guess that is a little terrifying, but, they literally walked past, other animals that were a lot more terrifying. To me, even now when I see them, I'm like, ooh. And
giraffe is actually around 17 to 19 feet.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to look this up. I was like, no, they're much taller.
Yeah.
So yeah, you see a almost 20-foot tall animal heading towards you. You're going to stop. If anything, they just don't see you and squish you.
That's true, yeah.
Hey.
But the funniest part is when the elephant knocks over the stand and Bobby's like, I really thought this year was going to be different.
Yep.
Didn't we all?
He expressed our entire mood for 2021 and 2020.
Yeah.
And possibly 2022.
Oh god, let's not put that out there.
Yep, let's not manifest that. Anyway,
Yep.
But it was such a great way to start the episode. And although I was a little disappointed that we didn't get this, since in real time we had to wait another week just to see this, and this is the most thing this is the thing I was most excited for. It was still good seeing these aspects of it and just seeing bits and pieces of it in the first episode. At least they gave us that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 1 week earlier, and so we see Chimney caring for Maddie, and this is one of the points where we're looking back on this, and I'm like, oh my god, I miss them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do. I know some people are like, oh, I didn't notice that they were gone. And I'm like, yeah, relatable, but also I'm like, I miss them.
I mean, sometimes I do forget they're gone. But when I think about it, I'm like, oh, I do miss them a little bit. Where are they? Come on. I really thought they'd come back in the Christmas episode, which is for a talk for another time. But
yeah. We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, we see him caring for Maddie, and she's suffering from postpartum, which we all know, and it's really sad to see, but it's very important too, and yeah. And then at the 118, this is funny too, because at the 118 they get alerts.
Yeah, it's funny.
And Bobby gets one for an earthquake, Buck gets one for a tsunami, of course, and Eddie gets one for a mudslide warning, and Chimney's it's all our greatest hits, and I'm just like, oh my god, yeah, they really, yep. And Hen's phone starts dialing 911, And like it's funny because like Chimney's like, what? Oh, not you too. What, bombing? And then Hen's like, no, apparently I'm dialing 911.
And
like,
that's when you're like, oh, I'm
okay.
intrigued.
Yeah, and like this happened to like a lot of people. They were dialing 911. They would be like, "What's your emergency?" And they'd be like, who is this?" And they're like, "911 services." And they're like, "I'm not calling 911." And it's like, okay.
Well, you sort of are, but even if you don't intend to.
Right.
Yeah, so like there was like this like malware hacking where 911 got hacked as along with like other things, and it was completely like insane.
Which is so weird because like a couple of days ago I sent a screenshot to you guys because like everybody where I was, like alerts were going off, and I looked down and it was the Seattle 911 center was offline. And they couldn't, like, they were sending out an emergency alert that if you needed to call 911 they gave you like an actual number instead of 911 to call. I was like, oh my god. So I sent a screenshot to you guys and I was like, oh my god, somebody hacked 911. I don't know if that happened really, but it was just funny. I was like, wow, this is like, they did this in 911.
Yeah. And like I can't remember like the actual like another show I watched did something similar. I can't remember if it was like a hacking. I think it was a hacking, but I think the hospital was hacked and stuff.
I remember in Night Shift them getting taken hostage and for a ransom.
Oh yeah, I vaguely remember that. Yeah. No, like the hospital was hacked. But anyways, like that's what it reminded me of, and I was like, huh, funny. And then like we see Athena go to court against her attacker.
You know, I forgot the storyline happened. And I remember that in Widow Crap.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things when I was rewatching it, I was like, okay, I wanted to keep forgetting this because I do not like, because like Athena got attacked at the end of season 3, and then it's finally brought up pretty much in season 4
trials
season
take
5.
a while. Trials can take a while.
I know, but I kind of just wanted this to be like a thing of the past, and I'm sure because of COVID that like trials were pushed out even further. But the fact that like I don't know, I just don't love this, and like it's definitely one of those scenes where I like pretty much skipped over because I was just like, okay, this is not. And like the worst part is like seeing these girls that are like, I don't know how old they are. They should just be in like high school, the way they're acting like his fan club, being like, oh, he's innocent, blah blah blah. No, I can't stand that.
Yeah,
like,
no, it's disgusting. Those girls were crazy.
And the fact that they're like, yeah, there are real ones out there.
Like the no, like that. I like to pretend that aspect did not happen because it's just like
honestly, the girls is what made it worse.
Yeah, exactly.
I could have handled a lot else with that scene, but just the girls, no.
Yeah, exactly. It's just I can't even. But then we get Eddie, Anna, and Chris are like getting Chris fitted for a suit because like Anna's sister had a baby and they're going to the christening. Great. This is when like we always knew that like things were just interesting, but this is when things really just get more interesting. And so the guy that's helping them with this, he calls Anna Chris's mom, and Eddie starts panicking and they and stuff, and like it's just
and
like,
okay, can we just not forget that she herself introduced herself as a friend?
Yeah.
Which still wasn't enough to stave off his panic attack, but
right.
Yeah,
it's still like
yeah, he passed.
You could have just gone with I'm not,
right,
his mom or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know. I've always just thought that was interesting.
It was super weird, but like he passes out, and this is when we're just like, and like this is like the clip that Fox accidentally released before the episodes. We all saw this like little scene before the episode even aired.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I was just like, oh, well, thank you, Fox. Like,
what are you doing, Freddie?
Yeah, but I was just like, oh. But like honestly, I'm surprised. Like, okay, of course, when Eddie begins, he gets hurt a little bit, and like He definitely has been there, and like obviously he got shot last season, but like this is like finally like something's happening with Eddie, and they're not just using Buck as a punching bag.
Like, thank you.
Like, thank you for the content. But what I don't like about this whole like panic like situation is I don't like, which maybe I should say this for later, but I'm just gonna say what I'm thinking and then I'll like adapt or I'll expand later. But I don't like how like basically they in these episodes they put like the panicking and then like they basically never talked about it again. Like I feel like it was kind of forgot about.
Oh no, I hate how they never addressed it again.
Because this could have been a perfect time to give Eddie some type of mental health story. Because, like, he was in the army. He obviously has some sort of, like, PTSD. Not to say that everyone in the army has PTSD, but, like, everyone deals with things differently. And it would have been interesting to see, like...
He has all the scenarios to give him PTSD.
Yeah. Like, it just would have been interesting to see that. But, like, after this, like... Eddie at the hospital, and it's just like it's not a heart attack. Okay, like I knew that it wasn't a heart attack just because I know what a panic attack feels like and looks like. So like I was like, okay, it's a panic attack. Like it was pretty obvious.
Besides, he's young enough; they would have had to have put something else in there to be like, okay, this is why he's having a heart attack, and it just didn't feel like they were going to do that. Because typically, unless something's going on, you don't have a heart attack in your 30s. Right. So, you do if something's affecting the heart or there's trauma and you don't get enough air. If there's something that causes the heart to stop beating, you have a heart attack. But it's much harder to have that when you're younger and more fit. Yeah, and it's just like ironically funny because Eddie's just like, after he finds out it's not a heart attack, he's like, you sure? The doctor's like, you sound disappointed. Yeah, you sound disappointed. And it is just like, no, I'm just surprised. It sure felt like one. And the doctor's just like, panic attacks can often present as heart attacks. And it's just like, that's not Eddie
what
panics and says, I don't panic. Yeah, internally he was panicking over, I don't panic.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and like, it's just funny, like, I don't panic. Like, yeah, okay. Okay.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
I mean, if that's what helps you sleep at night, baby.
Yeah.
He totally panics.
He totally panics. Yeah. And this is only the start. Like, it gets so much better. I don't know if it's in this episode or the next one, but there's so much more, of course. And then we see Athena has a nightmare about her attacker, and this is the scene where like he's like in her house and she goes to get her gun, and like you think it's real. Like it did seem so staged where it was a nightmare, and I kind of got that vibe, but also like when they put it in the promo, it looks so real. You're like, oh shit.
Because they only really showed that she was having a gun pointed at her.
Yeah,
they didn't show enough to be able to be like, well, wait, this is a nightmare.
Yeah, so like in the episode we know it's a nightmare, and then like
it seems real, but at the same time it's like something's off about it. Yeah, and like she has to go to court, and this is when weird stuff starts happening, like at court, and not just there are like other cases where weird stuff was happening, like specifically at court there were multiple prisoners that were brought up on a mix-up because of like the computer systems, I believe it was, being down, and like so then they start like fighting because the judge is like, get him out of here, and they like start fighting, and I'm just like, oh shit. And this is when Jeffrey escapes, and I'm like, of course why wouldn't he, and stuff like of course. And like of course Athena like notices and she like tries to go out, and of course they don't find him. Of course not. Why would they? Yeah. Like, nope, he's gone. And in the meantime, the world's falling to shit around them. Literally. And, like, Maddie is at home, and this is, like, when she fell asleep, and, like, she was in her crib, and then she answers her phone, and it's, like, Josh, because they were supposed to get lunch, and I was like, what the heck? We wanted that. Like, see that? Can we see that? Like, Jennifer, we're gonna need you to come back to 911 soon because we need Josh and Maddie back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So yeah, like they were supposed to get lunch, and Josh is just like, Maddie, hi. Yeah, we're gonna have to reschedule lunch, and she's just so confused at like
what's happening. She's just like, he's like, you haven't seen the news? And she's just like, what the heck is happening? So she like turns on the news after, and like she sees like what's happening, and like I'm like, oh yeah, you missed a lot, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was having a rough day.
Yeah, understandably so. Yeah, and then this is when like the Buck Eddie stuff starts unraveling, because they go to the hospital to bring a patient there or whatever, and then they help out, and the doctor knows, of course, who Eddie is, and is like asking him if he's feeling better, and Buck is just like very alert to the situation, like he's looking like, what's going on?
He's like a guard dog, his head swiveling and ears perking up, like, what?
Yeah.
You mentioned my Eddie was hurt? Anyway.
Yeah, and like, yeah, he's very
and Eddie is caught, looked like, fine, thank you. Gets out as fast as possible.
Right.
Yeah, and Eddie, like, and Buck talk about him not having a heart attack. Like, it was like, what do you went to see a cardiologist, like, would you have a heart attack or something? And Eddie's like, what I'm saying is I didn't have a heart attack.
I didn't have a heart attack.
Yeah. And Jim and
I don't think that was very comforting to Buck anyway.
Buck's like, what did you have?
Buck's spiraling.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jim and Hen come into the room asking if they want to be tagged out, like if Buck and Eddie want to be tagged out, and Buck's just like, great idea, Eddie really shouldn't be exerting himself right now.
And they're like, what?
And Eddie's just like, Buck.
Seriously, Buck?
Seriously, arguing married couple.
Honestly, like this episode, like all the buddy things did gave me such like buddy vibes. Like Buck is just like the overprotected boyfriend.
Just like the best of times they act like an old married couple. So
they do. They seriously do.
Like, yeah, well, get used to it.
Yeah. So then we see Lou and Athena. And like this is when they're like searching for Jeffrey wherever he may be.
Wherever.
Yeah, like they have to go to because like they figure out, oh, maybe he's at like the girl's house. So they go to like each of the houses, and like these scenes give me even worse vibes. I'm like,
because it's a blackout, they're doing it in a creepy. Like this should have been the Halloween episodes. Honestly.
Yeah, really, that's a good point.
That I never even thought about that until now, but honestly, it's so true.
It was so creepy because they were using the flashlights. And they turn them on, and they turn around. Suddenly, the girl would be there, and it's like, oh, like there's a person there.
Not even that, but
and all of them look just slightly crazy. So
yeah, they like just like them. They give me creeps. Yeah, but then at the hospital, they like hear a crash. I think this is when they're gonna go check the generators.
Yeah, they're about to check the generators.
And they hear a crash, and the Hen's just like, that's the roof. And so they go up to the roof. There's like a helicopter hanging on like the side of the building, like half on, half off.
Yeah.
And stuff.
That was an awkward scene.
It was.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just like, wasn't that the end of the first episode?
Yeah, this is like there was a couple things that are like the last few things of the episode, because while that's happening, Lou eventually finds Jeffrey at the lawyer's house, which that scene was a whole other thing, and arrests him. Then Lou tells Athena that they're all safe, and Lou hangs up the phone, and this is when he gets his throat slit by the lawyer, and this is when I'm just like, oh god, she's one of them.
Right.
Like, you, initially in the episode, I didn't get weird vibes.
I didn't either. It was until, like...
It was the house scene, the entire house scene. Even before Lou got there, where I was like, something feels off, and I can't put my finger on what. And then when she slit his throat, I was like, well, fuck.
Yeah, I did not. Honestly, I did not see the lawyer coming. I saw that she might have been. I could kind of got the vibe that she might be willing to help him, but I did not see her like being willing to do that.
I did not see her being willing to kill. Yeah, I could have called that she'd be taken in by his charm, but killing for him, or fortunately only attempting to kill for him. No, that episode destroyed me though, because I love Lou, and I like screeched
I did too. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and obviously we watched all these episodes together. So like it was just like even more.
And
Right.
you already saw it.
Yeah,
If
so
Yeah.
I was the only
So-
one that like kind of knew what happened. So like, but
Right.
even
and see,
so,
even then, okay, even after that, part of me wasn't convinced that Lou was going to be dead, though.
oh me either.
Because I was actually wrong about why I thought he was going to be alive. See, when I had looked at it, I'm like, that's the wrong angle. I don't think she could have gotten the jugular then, and that's the carotid artery. That's the thing you need to hit when you're trying to slit someone's throat. So I'm like, I don't think her angle's right. She was so much shorter than him.
Yeah.
But I watch it again. I'm like, oh wait, no, the angle's better than I thought. But he was still alive. In the next episode, I'm like, well, at least there's that.
Right. I don't know if I should be a little worried that you know about that.
I mean, I kind of know that too. I've watched
Me too.
so many shows where this stuff happens, so like I kind of like know that.
Okay, well, I grew up with tree chickens.
True.
I know
True.
about how to kill things, and I watched a lot of crime shows in my time. And I have a lot of ex-cop connections. So, I don't know, maybe feel a little concerned for me.
Cooper agrees. And then we go on to the second episode.
Yes.
So this is like 1 minute before the blackout. And I was like, okay, yeah, we're getting there. So the helicopter can't land, and so we see like the paramedics and stuff and like that kind of thing, and like they can't land or whatever, so like it kind of like, and then like this is when things just slowly start getting black. I mean, it's a lot fast. It is fast, but like it's also like you just slowly see it just go black. It's just like, okay.
Yeah, you're like, oh no.
And it's also like worse because they have like an organ on board since this is like for a transplant, and I'm like, oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a transplant flight.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh no.
Right.
Yeah.
As if it wasn't already a problem, then that adds to it, and it's like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Like at the same time, you don't want to have like a whole victim on board. That sounds so weird, but like a live victim on board, because already, they're already injured, and the chance of them dying or getting more severely injured is high. But at the same time, somebody's waiting for that transplant, and so you're like, there's still someone involved. And then you have the pilot and the guy who's staying back with it. So you're like, oh, this is not a good situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like one of the paramedics gets hurt, Manny. And like I remember Hen talking to him and been like, oh, how long you're on the job? I can't remember what he said, like maybe a few months. And she's just like,
yeah,
oh, you've seen a lot of more action than I did when I was on the job. But one who's like, yeah, that makes sense.
It's like not what I was hoping for.
Right.
Yeah. But they saved Oregon, they saved Manny, and that was that. And then we get 4 days later with the whole powder outage, and Michael and David are over here at Bobby and Athena's throwing gathering. Like Athena's like, you're not throwing a party, are you? And he's like, it's a gathering with neighbors.
Neighbor. Or said that about a specific one, but
yeah,
and of course I'm like, David.
Oh, I love David.
David is amazing.
Yeah, and like Harry's being like
entrepreneur.
He's charging each of the neighbors to come in, and I'm like, Harry, I appreciate your hustle, but no.
It's like, okay,
so funny.
I can't say that I have done similar things to that. I mean, not to that level, but I've definitely done things like that when I was a kid.
I mean, it's a good business scheme, but at the same time, it's not a fully honest one.
No.
Right.
Just like,
I get why Michael just hushed Athena off the phone, because she's a cop, and I don't think she would really have a liking to any of this.
Right.
Oh yeah. She just had been like, my boys do what?
Yeah, I could definitely see Athena just going off about that. Yep. And this is really.
I feel like she'd be almost half proud of his hustle, and then just completely like no.
Boy, no, yeah, exactly. And then the scene makes me sad, but like Athena, like she gets like a call from like one of the nurses or something at the hospital, and this is when she discovers Lou because they ask her if she knows him because he had wrote down like Sergeant Athena Grant, and she's like Lou, and like it had been 4 days and she didn't know he was there, which understandably so. She had nothing to suspect, which is like when Athena and Elaine kind of look into like if Jeffrey's in jail or not, which obviously we know he's not. Never made it there. Like when they look into it, like Athena feels so guilty. She's like, it's been 4 days. I should have checked up on him. And Elaine's
she's like, how do we not notice he was gone? And it's just kind of like,
right,
yeah.
Well, enough people don't ask enough questions because they think they know something, and it's not actually what's happening. And this is sort of the situation you get. And, you know, they'd gotten off the phone right before he got his throat cut. So she had every reason to think he was okay.
Yeah, which is what Elaine told her. She was like, you had no reason to like suspect that anything was wrong and stuff. Like, for all you knew, like he made it there like safely and stuff.
Yeah, and that's why they had to call the prison because they didn't even know when this had happened.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there like, well, this discovery will be fun.
Yeah. Then this is when we get like Hen gets his charger that was issued to her by the department, and Chim's just like, because Chim's like, oh, can I borrow your charger? And she's like, oh no, this is my department issued charger. So Chim goes to get his charger, and of course Buck and Ravi are in charge of things. Okay, Ravi, yeah, that makes sense. But Buck, are we really surprised? Absolutely not.
With the clipboard.
Never get Buck.
The thing is that I'm impressed by his efficiency. But also, if I had to deal with him trying to be efficient, I would strangle him.
Right.
So I'm just like, glad I'm not in your situation.
Yeah, and I just love Chim being like to Buck, give me a charger or Uncle Buck will never see his niece again.
And see, it took a long time for me to actually see humor in that statement, and I don't know why, but I was just kind of like, great, you're telling the guy who's like lost so much of his family and had his family treat him like shit, you're telling him. I kind of had an issue with that.
I never thought about it like, yeah, I didn't either, but like
just when I first heard it, I didn't take it funny. And now I can laugh about it, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't see the humor as much as some people do.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with seeing humor in it. That was just how I interpreted it.
I do agree with that because, like, yeah, that's not, like, the best thing to say, but I get it and stuff. But what was funnier was after when Chim was like, well, let this be a lesson. Never give Buck a clipboard. And Buck's like, excuse me for being efficient. And Chim's like, that's one word for what you are. Oh my god. Relatable.
Yeah, Chim was struggling, though.
Yeah, like, he was. So
I was trying to give him some grace, but some of his words were a little harsh.
Yeah, I
think that's actually what made I've had a complicated relationship with Chim this season, and times before, just because his words tend to be really harsh, as particularly towards Buck, and most of it you can tell is joking and is taken as joking, but in this season it felt less so. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they have one thing to relate on. They both have shitty family, minus, like, Maddie.
Right.
Yeah.
And June.
Yeah.
Because she's cute.
Well, yeah. I wasn't really thinking about her. Like,
no, I know.
Well, she can't really do anything shitty. She's a baby.
True.
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 I mean, she's shitty as in diapers, but other than that, nope.
Yep. So Eddie is surprised by Chris and Anna, and Anna brings 3 salads, and I'm thinking, I really hope these meet Chim's standards, because before Bobby was like making powdered eggs, which are gross. No.
Yeah.
Never had them. They sound absolutely disgusting.
I've never had them, but they just sound gross, like, and stuff. So, like, I think he will appreciate 3 salads more than he will appreciate the powdered eggs. So I guess that's a little bit better. But I was just like, imagine.
I was just like, girl, you could have at least brought mac and cheese or something. Like, you have to get like 3 salads.
Why salad? Like, I don't know. That's interesting. Like, come on. But yeah. And then like we see like Buck and Chris, which is honestly like the highlight of like it's like Chris is like, "Hey Buck," and Buck's just like picking up Chris, like, "Oh, looks like the new chief is here," and like Ravi hasn't met Chris or Anna, so he's just like standing there awkwardly, and Ravi like says how he's a probationary firefighter, and Chris is like, "Did you do something wrong?" And Buck's like, "Constantly."
Yeah.
Because Buck gets to pick on the probie that actually feels like a probie.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Eddie didn't feel like a probie.
Oh, no. Yeah. And of course, Robbie thinks Anna is Eddie's wife, and 3, 2, 1, panic attack number 2.
He's fortunately it didn't develop into a full thing. He just kind of went.
His face said it all, which only Buck noticed. Like Buck looks at him and is just like, okay.
Right.
I actually feel like he would have descended further into it if somebody hadn't mentioned something.
Yeah, no, she definitely caught on that something was weird, but I don't think she caught on like fully. I think she caught on quite a bit, but like
I think she caught on more than people give her credit for. But at the same time, I feel like there's that level of denial. You don't want to be the person giving your significant other panic attacks.
Yeah.
Even if you do feel like it hasn't felt right for a while. Like, you don't want to be that. So, obviously, between wanting to preserve the relationship and not wanting to face you're giving your partner panic attacks, and you indirectly too. Yeah. Because she was never the one to refer to herself as that. It's all people's assumptions.
Yeah, like Eddie, she I think she just wanted to like pretend that everything's okay, like kind of like when you know a relationship is going downhill, you want to pretend like everything is okay, even though you deep down you know it's not. So I think it was like one of those
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he starts panicking, just his face, and Buck has on his super tuned Eddie alert, and he's just like,
something's wrong.
Something's wrong, baby.
Yeah, Buck Eddie and Buck just speak like each other's language, like buddy.
Yeah,
language.
Yeah,
they were the only 3 I saw.
Instead of body language, it's buddy language.
Buddy language.
Okay, gotta make that into a thing. Yes. Yes. No, you know what should be on a shirt? I speak buddy.
There you go. I love it.
I love how I just came up with that. Love that. So then we see Athena and Elaine kind of looking for Jeffrey or whatever. But like obviously like nothing comes of it and stuff. And then we get the most look forward to scene, which is the animal scene.
Yes.
And like Buck totally freaking out, like he's like, "What kind of animals?" And Bobby's like, "We've been over this, Buck. We don't know. It could be anything. Collar got cut off during the attack." And Buck's just like, "Okay, so ransomware bus open all the cages at the LA Zoo, and they can't call us. No one thinks to call. I don't know, animal control." And Buck was just like, "I asked about animal control. They've been busy since the breakout." And like they tranked a lion at Griffith Park and stuff. And but like I don't think this is helping Buck because Chimney's talking about like I don't even know what he's talking about, like just different mammals, I suppose.
Yeah.
And stuff like cubs and stuff, and Buck's just like, "No, I don't think you guys are hearing me. Okay, this is not me and Eddie begging a turkey in South Pasadena."
I love that reference. Season 4.
Yes. No, they have a serious predators at the LA Zoo. A snow leopard, a tiger.
And Eddie just looks over indulgently and he's like, he takes Christopher there on weekends.
Because it's inland.
Yes, I made that connection after I watched this. I was like, so Buck took Eddie's advice by choosing something inland, so they just hang out at the zoo all the time. They don't dare go to the pier ever again.
However, I do like that he's like, predators! Takes Chris to the zoo. I'm surprised his paranoia allows that, to be honest.
No, this would never happen, but can we get a trip to the zoo?
Please. I want to see it.
I do too, especially now. And like, Bucks just keeps going off like, a chimpanzee. A chimp will literally rip your face off without even thinking twice about it. And then the hen's just like, just smile, Buck. And they all smile at him, and Buck's just still freaked out. It's just like, oh my god.
Can we just say that Eddie's fake smile is the cutest fake smile ever?
Oh, yes. Like, I live for that moment. Like, oh, yes. And then, like, we see them, like, go walk through and see the animals, and like Buck's just holding up his Halligan, like trying to protect himself, and I'm like, Buck, oh my, like he's gonna use it. Like, yeah, Buck, that's helping you. Good job. And this is why Eddie and Buck did not help Hen and Bobby rescue one of the guys, Ivan, who was in there with 2 alpacas that had pretty much like 8 parts of his skin or whatever it was. Like the base.
He bitten off the ear.
It was ear. I knew it was something.
Yeah.
And like they had to basically just distract them and stuff and give them food, and then they basically just ran. And it's just funny because after the fact, Buck's just like, so you ran from an alpaca, and Bobby's just like, 2 alpacas, and there was no running. And Eddie and Buck's faces are just like, yeah, sure, tell you something.
They're just like, sure.
Sure. And Bobby's just like, just get in the truck. And I would like to play my inner Buck by just saying all the animals that were there, because it was amazing seeing it. Like, yeah, they were mostly all, besides the llamas, were all CGI'd.
But still.
Well, it was impressive. Like, we saw a giraffe, an elephant, camels, several birds, which kind of freaked me out.
Yeah.
An emu, wolves, baby camel, monkeys, alpacas, rhinos. It was impressive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I still like the behind the scenes photo that we got of Ryan petting the camel. That was cute.
God, yes.
Oh my gosh. Wasn't that a video?
Yeah, it was a video.
It was in a video. Yeah.
Oh, we love that. Like, can we just have like body with animals? Thank you very much. And Christopher, yes, of course. We love that. The scene was also very impressive on May's part. May is kind of like, I feel like the season proven herself as a dispatcher. Like, she's obviously been doing this for like a year.
She's grown into it. She's matured into it.
Yeah, definitely. So there's
I do want them to tackle, is this where she's staying? Is she still planning to go to college? Yeah. Like, because this was supposed to be a gap year thing. Yeah. And is obviously doing more, so like, what's her plans?
Yeah, and also like in TV land, they're kind of moving past like the world of COVID, so like obviously that's not really an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like, they could like do something, but it's definitely like she has proven herself. But I love to see her future.
I would actually hope that she stays dispatcher.
Yeah.
And as I wasn't into the ideal when it started, that is monumental for me to say.
So the whole case of this the call is like a boy on a ventilator and the battery goes low. So the mom calls 911 and stuff, and May like kind of bands together to get, like, one of the neighbors had like solar panels, so she had power to her house. So she kind of gets her to get like extension cords, and so each neighbor connects extension cords, so that way they can plug in. So this boy obviously can like be on his ventilator since the battery is low, and it was just so amazing like seeing this, and like that was really impressive.
Yeah, and then the last like couple of feet they had to use like Christmas lights to extend the power because it was just a hair short.
They'd fallen short by like 1 yard.
Yeah.
One backyard. Like, no.
That's what like neighborhoods like coming together and like working together in like a tragedy like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Yeah, no, that was great. I loved that scene.
And I also love the next scene, Eddie lying down on his little cot and stuff, and Buck with his clipboard, and I'm just like, okay, here we are.
Yep.
So Buck's just like with his clipboard being like, hey, are you sleeping or just pretending? What is
I was
it?
like,
Give me-
okay.
Okay. Boyfriend
Calling
husband.
him out there.
And Eddie's just like, I was actually trying to until you interrupted. I'm exhausted. And he's like, how are you feeling? And I was just like, hot. I mean, you are
Like
hot.
you are.
Yeah. Yep.
You are hot.
No lie. No lies detected.
Hot. I'm sweating out of places I didn't know could.
Yeah.
Yep. Sounds about right. And Buck's just like, not like a cold sweat though, right? And he shuts his face. It's just Buck is just like playing so many roles, and he's in this like time. And Eddie's just like, you don't give up, do you? I'm fine, Buck. And Buck's just like, people who are fine don't go and see cardiologists. You need to tell me if something is wrong.
I was like, okay, yeah, respect.
I'm like, yeah, you're sort of right. Yeah. And Eddie's like, all right. It was a panic attack, not a heart attack. Panic. The way he says panic.
Yeah,
And the way
exactly.
Buck changes gears, like, since when do you panic?
I think
Right.
Buck knows Eddie better than Eddie knows Eddie.
Yes.
It's Buck.
I would agree with that.
Eddie has a lot of repression issues,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
and Buck knows everything about Eddie, of course. So
Yeah. And Eddie's like, that's what I said. I don't panic, except I did. And Buck's like, okay, well, what triggered it? I mean, you did just get shot and almost killed by a sniper. I guess that could be considered anxiety inducing. Buck in the scene,
oh shit.
Buck in the scene is giving me just so many like feelings, so many just like I'm like I kind of love him in the scene.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Eddie's just like, that wasn't it, okay? And like Eddie kind of says like how he thinks it was Anna, and like how maybe he wasn't ready, but he like says like how Chris loves her, and Buck kind of makes a reference like how he's been Anna before and stuff, and like that like you're not supposed to just make it work with somebody you love. And I'm like, yep, okay.
It's true.
Now, Buck, you need to get on his level and just realize that you love him.
Yeah, you need to realize that about your own relationship.
You need to get rid of your girlfriend now.
Right.
Because eventually, we can get into this all we want, but eventually he's going to be same situation.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
no. Anyhow, we move to the other best friends. Hen and Chim talk, and Chim kind of tells Hen about her postpartum depression. And Hen they talk about it, and Hen kind of tells Chim to stop trying to fix Maddie. And I love that because I feel like that's just who Chim is. Like, he always just wants to fix people, but it's just like she feels more than his girlfriend just because like they have, not just because of G, but just because
They're
just do.
partners.
Yeah, like and Hen uses that term and stuff. She says like your partner is like you're like you don't need to fix her and nothing stuff. And like yeah, then we see the somewhat dreaded scene. Like, it's hard to watch, but it's like also important because like Maddie like was bathing G, and she kind of like falls asleep because just
She's overwhelmed. She's exhausted.
like
Yeah.
it's hard enough when like you are depressed, but it's like when you have a child and you're depressed, it's like a whole nother level.
And when you're having a single parent because of circumstances.
Yeah.
Like, yes, she's got Chim, but Chim isn't around to help.
Yeah, no, like the world is just basically crumbling, and she just has to like figure it out on her own. So basically, she falls asleep while she's bathing G for just a second, and G slips in the tub.
Yeah.
Because a second is all it takes.
Yeah, no, it only takes a second, and then she brings G to the doctor, and she's fine. But like you can, like when stuff like this happens, like you you just hold that and you feel like it's your fault. Like I watched a show one time where this dad, like he had left his baby in the car, not for long on like a hot day, but for a little bit, and the baby was fine. But like that like weighs on you, which is this is like a similar thing and stuff. Like it's hard and stuff. But please, Patty, come back. Not even that. Like just I would be happy if Jim just come back. Gee, like, come on. I could have sworn I saw a picture yesterday where, like, he was actually on set, but I couldn't tell if it was old or new. I was very confused. Anyways, Lou wakes up and Athena is like talking to him, and like he can't speak obviously because you know he was like cut open at throat, you know. But he's like writing things down. He can sort of speak, but it's like not great. And so he was trying to write things down. He was like telling Athena that she's a victim too, which being that she needs to go to her house and check things out.
Yeah. And this is probably just one of the biggest flaws in this whole scene is that she doesn't think of herself as a victim. So she doesn't think that she needs to check her family because to her, she's not a victim.
Right. Yeah. And she's never seen herself as the victim. As a victim from this situation, which is crazy.
I kind of understand it though, because I feel like to her what happened to her was nothing compared to what happened to those other women and stuff, because she was brutally attacked, yes, but she wasn't raped. She was assaulted, but it wasn't like she probably doesn't see it as being as heinous as like how they were hurt. So I understand that, but I'm also like, come on, woman, like, but I don't blame Athena. I don't want it to sound like that. I don't. No. I don't. Yeah, I just want to clarify. I don't blame her. I'm just saying, like, yeah,
it is a little bit like, oh no, you're a victim too.
Yeah, and like this is when we get like glimpse of like Athena's house, and like obviously David and Michael are like letting everyone in, which it's I don't know, it's
people are probably coming in without them even knowing they're coming in.
Yeah, they probably have the door unlocked. They're probably just like, oh, come in at your free will, which that's not the best.
Which I'd actually be willing to think that's what happened. I feel like at least Michael would have seen a picture of Jeffrey from the news.
Yeah, no, I would assume like that he definitely knows what he looks like.
Yeah, that's my assumption. So I'm thinking he just made it just sidle in, and they didn't know. They had no way of realizing because there were just so many people.
Yeah. And so, like, we see a scene where Harry's talking to Jeffrey and, like, saying how his mom isn't coming home or she won't be home for a while or whatever. And he's just like, oh, I really wanted to see her. Like, yeah, okay. And, like, Harry doesn't know, which, just so many things. And obviously, like, Harry's missing after this. And then they, like, Athena and, like, Elaine and stuff go to the house. Bobby shows up too. And, like, Harry's missing. And we know Jeffrey took him because, like, we just knew that even before Athena got that call with where it was Harry calling him, and then Jeffrey gets on the phone. And I'm just like, poor Harry.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, just this whole storyline with, like, Harry getting kidnapped felt like it lasted forever, even though it was, like, at the end of this episode and then the whole next episode. It was just like, oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't wish that on anyone, and I honestly was really surprised they put Harry in kind of the mix of all this stuff.
Yeah, I didn't really. Yeah, it's one of those things where I would never like expected that. Like, why would I? But yeah, and like, when we get into the next episode where he's like we know he's kidnapped and that kind of stuff, and like everyone's on edge. Like Athena's like kind of like yelling, Michael's yelling. I feel like David and Bobby are just like kind of in the middle. Like, I think Athena is mad at like Michael and David for this because like they let all these people in and like they didn't notice and stuff, and like
they're not at fault. It's just easy target.
It was an easy target, and like I was like a little like not putting fault on anybody, was a little careless just have random strangers going in, but it's also like innocently, you don't think your neighbors are going to, and it wasn't a neighbor, that's the thing, but you don't think that people are gonna like,
you don't think people are gonna pose as your neighbors.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Which, granted, that's a perfect opportunity for someone to come in and steal shit. But you don't expect
there's
something
that
of
too.
magnitude.
Yeah, it's just so many like things with that and stuff. But yeah, and then like Michael and Athena, well later they go off, and then like Bobby brings David home and that kind of stuff. But then May finds out about this, and like Sue tells her, and May wants to like go there, and May's like, no, your parents want you to be here, which honestly is better for her, because it would be better to like be working than like sitting around just waiting for news.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and they also didn't know like if he was planning to come for May as well.
Yeah, they never subbed that, but I would assume that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, granted, that would have been a lot harder because May is older and bigger than Harry, and trying to take care of one young adult and one teenager, that would have been a lot. Like trying to keep them both contained would have been a lot. So, but they also didn't know. They didn't know if he had anyone else working with him either.
Yeah, true. But Harry's tied up in like the car or whatever, and Jeffrey makes a stop. And he's not like tied up, but his like mouth is like has tape over it and stuff like that. But like basically, and like gets out of the car and he hides under it. But then like Jeffrey pulls him out and stuff. And then like this is when the person's like walking their dog and passes them, and Harry's obviously like being like he's like lifting him up, and Harry's like screaming, and the person like asks what's going on. He's like, oh no, this is like, I'm a cop, like this kid is like, he broke into this building, like, oh yeah, and like stuff. And of course he stole Lou's badge, so like he has the proof, quotation marks, and stuff. And like so like Harry tells this woman to like record, which is really smart on his behalf, because then like we know eventually May sees this video and they're able to like find this woman and ask her about it and stuff.
Right.
And yeah, this is like this crazy. But like I really like the next scene with Athena and Michael in the car. I feel like it's just so funny. Like it's in theory, like it is funny, but like just I don't know. It's one of those things, but like Michael just questions why this guy hates Athena so much. Oh, right. And he's like, he could be in Mexico right now. And Athena's like, he's like, why does he hate you so much? And Athena's like, I shut off his junk.
He's like, you did what?
He's like, I'm sorry, you did what now? And Athena's just like, his magic wand, I shut it off. And Michael's like, no, you did not. And she's like, I did. And Michael's laughing. Yeah. I mean, same. And Michael's just like cracking up. But I mean, why? How could you not? It's funny. It's ironic, which obviously it's poetic, which is what Michael says.
Beautiful.
And Michael's just like, well, that would do it. Okay. And Athena's just like, it's not funny, Michael. And he's just like, the hell, it's not. I mean, considering what you arrested him for, I mean, it's poetic. And Athena's just like, he was using it as a weapon. And Michael's like, you disarmed the man. We haven't gotten like a good Athena Michael scene in so long, so like this is the best, and like that was a good scene. I just love seeing Michael's reaction to it, and I'm just like, yeah. And yeah,
like a big remind me to never piss you off.
Right? Dude. Oh my god, yes. Like I do not want to mess with Athena. Do not mess with Athena.
Yes. Oh exactly. No, you do not mess with the queen.
It's funny because I didn't remember any of that happening until they mentioned it. I don't
think they ever mentioned it. You just knew that there was a shot and you knew he was down. But you don't actually know who got shot.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. But I was just like,
Yeah, it was never discussed, like, exactly what happened. So to have that come out, it's hilarious.
Oh my god, the best. Then May finds Harry online through like a Twitter video or whatever, and is able to at least talk to Michael and Athena are at least able to find the woman and go talk to her about it.
Because she posted the video online, and because what's his face? Wow, I can't even think of his name right now. Had been using the badge.
Oh, so Jeffrey.
She was Yeah, and that she was trying to say that it was a anti-cop page or something like that. So
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
I can't speak today.
It's okay. You said what's his face, and my brain went Ethan? No, it's not Ethan. I couldn't come up with the name either.
The only reason I remembered his name is because I work with somebody with that name, so it's spelled different, but that's how I remember it.
Hope he's a good guy.
Right.
Yeah, so that's like escalates so quickly because Jeffrey, like, obviously has like properties or whatever, being a real estate agent, and he shows up with one and he basically puts Harry in a wall and drills it shut. And I'm just like, the hell?
Yeah, the hell?
Yeah, like, and then like Jeffrey puts Athena on a wild goose chase to find Harry. She ends up at like some like that festival thing, like when there are no cops or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cop free zone.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what it was called. But yeah, like he like kind of puts her on a like chase, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. I love how Athena goes in there and says hey, and like points out when she sees him that he's a cop. And they all recognize him as the cop that was, so then they all chase him down too. I thought that was funny.
That was funny. Like, yes.
Like, good on Athena.
Yes, Athena. And then like they are at the 118, and like Bobby is upset. And I think earlier in the episode, like Bobby had just blurted out that Harry had been kidnapped. So they know at this point that Harry is kidnapped, of course.
Oh, that's right. They'd come to that same place earlier to pick up somebody who had called for help, and they weren't going to let them in. And Bobby just told them to go through. And so there was this big drama. And then everyone's like, wow, you're kind of in a mood. And that's when he said that Harry had been kidnapped.
Oh, yeah, because he like forces this way through. He's like, I will get in.
Yeah. He was not having it that day.
Yeah, understandable. But Bobby's just sitting there, like in another room, but like Buck and Chim are just standing there, and Buck's like looking at him, and he's like, what's he doing? And Chim's like, leave it alone. But then like when they like go closer to Bobby, he's like praying and stuff, which I like because we hadn't seen that in a while.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's been a good chunk of time since we have, because I'm trying to remember. Did we get in the previous season of him going to church? Oh, well, we got him going to the the meeting.
Oh, like at the end of the season, I think. Oh, we got like close to the end of the season, we got that. And then Athena like gets to Jeffrey, and this is when like she calls Bobby and says that she needs like backup or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like Athena gets to Jeffrey, but when she like says, like, Jeffrey's like, oh, is that your firefighter husband? She points a gun towards him, so Athena like shoots him.
Yeah.
Like 5 or 6 times, and I'm like, this is like, it's like yes, Athena, but also like it's rough because like they don't know where Harry is yet.
Mm-hmm.
They have no idea where he is. So, like, he's dead, don't know where Harry is, so it's kind of rough.
Yeah, it's not a good experience or environment right now.
But at this point, like, we're, like, pretty far into the episodes, like, they're gonna find him soon.
Right.
Or at least we hope.
Yeah, I did not want them to drag that on for too long, for sure.
Like, it was already long enough,
yeah.
So I didn't want it to, like, be another more time. Like, it was just like, no. But, like, they do find where Harry is. They kind of figure out that, like, he has properties and stuff. So they kind of get the keys. Or Michael's like, I got keys. Well,
and Bobby just blows through the gate.
This is when they're in the car. And Michael's just like, I got keys. And Bobby's just like, we don't need keys. And he goes through the gate.
And the property area was a thing that Michael had, the company he was working for had been developing, but then COVID happened, and so the funding for it stopped, so they hadn't been building. Yeah, that's right. So Michael had the keys to the property, and Bobby's like, it's okay, I don't need keys.
Smashes through the gate.
Yeah, I love that. Go, Bobby. But on the other hand, I get it too. Because that's his stepson. He's worried about him, and
he's making a statement.
You damn well know that, like, not the same situation, but something similar Like, not this similar, but like, if Chris was in danger, you know, Buck would do something similar. I don't mean like a kidnapping. I just mean like some type of emergency. You know, Buck would do something like that. I mean, Buck would do something like that on any day.
Yeah.
Buck does not think twice. Where I feel like Bobby has more of a conscience.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Okay. I see where you're going with. Yeah.
Somewhat. Like, I feel like I just mean Bobby thinks through things. He does slight bit more, where Buck just goes in blind. That's what I really meant. But yeah, they find Harry. He's okay, like physically, but obviously we know mentally he's definitely far from okay, which understandably so.
This was a tough season for him, like his recovery.
Oh yeah, it was like
it was tough to watch for sure.
Yeah.
But props to the kid who plays Harry because he did really well.
No,
very good
100%.
actor.
Yeah, very 100%. But then we get to the scene we had sort of all been waiting for. It's just the way this happened too, because Eddie basically tells Anna, like, I think you should go home.
Oh, that's right. And he gets home and the place is a mess because she's been binge cooking or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, she
stress
was baking. There were so many muffins. I was like, okay, I work in a bakery and I've still not seen that many muffins.
Right?
Like, okay, that's a lot of baking, even for me. And like, yeah, this is the way he like said, oh, I think he's like, you should go home. And she's just looking at him like, what? And he's just like, well, I can imagine you want to be like in your own home, get some alone time. And then they just like go in the kitchen and like she knows it's over. She knew it was over before that, but like he basically like, yeah, they end things. And I'm just like, it is like sad because like she was Christopher's teacher, so obviously they already had like a good like relationship, but it's still like, no, like,
I know, I felt more for Eddie in that just because like he looked like he was suffering, baby.
No, yeah. I did feel bad for Eddie, but like I didn't really feel bad for Chris because I think he'll be okay.
I wish we'd gotten something on how he took it though.
Yeah, I'm like, do I wish we saw it? I kind of go back and forth if I wish we saw it because I'm like, did I want to see that or did I not? Because it might have been like another like heart. It might have been a heart. I don't know what it would have been, but like,
see, I didn't want to see him learn. I wanted to see him like in the aftermath.
Oh, like saying bye.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would have liked to see that rather than like her just going out there and you just hear her for like a second. Yeah. But I wouldn't have wanted to see like any aftermath because like I was worried about that. I was, but it seemed to be that he took it okay, I guess. And then Jiminy goes home and nobody's there. So then he gets a call to go back to the 118 and Maddie had dropped off G and left. And Jim just gets this video, which is Maddie basically saying how like she doesn't think she's a good mother and this kind of stuff. She's obviously struggling and stuff, and I feel bad for Jim like in this moment, and we all know it gets worse.
Right.
And I just hate that like this is how like it got left, and like at this point I just want Jim to be back.
Yeah. I think part of me is hesitant with him coming back just simply because everything left on a bad note and he is not in a good place.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like,
that's why I'm like, maybe
if Buck doesn't get an apology, I quit.
But thoughts on this episode? Or these 3 episodes, this little series, I suppose. I liked rewatching them. I liked it, but when it was airing, I didn't love it just because like all the episodes were good. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't like it because they really just tried to squeeze it into 3 episodes where they could have. I don't know. It's just the fact that they made us watch 3 weeks of this, and it was just like I almost felt like they could have did like a 2-hour premiere and then done the 3rd episode next week.
That would have been nice.
And then they could have called it a day. I think I would have liked it better that way because I felt like they just tried to drag it out because well, let's just be honest, they're rating this season. I'm kind of like confused. I feel like
what are they on?
Yeah, I think they're on some not so good drugs.
Mhm.
because so I don't know what's going on like and stuff, but like I was just like I didn't like how they dragged it out and stuff. It was still like I really enjoyed this disaster and stuff. Like I did enjoy it, but I don't know, like I just didn't like how they felt like they needed to drag it all out.
I did like these episodes. The quality of the disaster wasn't near the others.
No,
And the biggest thing with this was that they had so many storylines going on.
yeah.
And they didn't have a climax. The entire episode were climax. They didn't have any sort of curves. It was very monotonous.
Mhm.
And I think that was the problem with them. And I agree,
Honestly.
them having a 2-hour premiere, then the third episode another week, that could have been better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have felt more like a climax rather than a monotonous feel. But
Yeah.
overall, I do like them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against the episodes, but it definitely, it drew it out a lot. Yeah. I don't know. To be honest, even these 3 episodes had better starts to the seasons than this one, I think.
I didn't, yeah, like last season I didn't love the mudslide, but I think mudslide I didn't really care for some of the calls, not all of them, some of them. But I think they did a better job with like just storylines they had going on then than they did with this episode. Like I think just things were messy, but like nothing will ever compare to the tsunami as number 1 and number 2 as the earthquake. Those are the best natural disaster episodes.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the season could have started off stronger, and I know we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but I wasn't feeling this season so far.
An interesting season
so far. Yeah.
We'll see what happens second half of it, and we'll talk about everything that happened first half of it next week. Tune in then. It's a lackluster season.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Like they're definitely, which we'll talk about this more next week, but I'm just gonna say this. There are definitely episodes where I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing, and then there's those episodes where you're just like, what the actual heck? Like what is this?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, most of them include Buck Taylor. Anyhow.
How many times did we gag when we were watching?
Maybe that's why my throat's sore.
Okay. Okay, like yeah, the first like few times there were in episodes, I'm pretty sure like that one scene I was just like nope.
Like nope.
And we'll talk about that all next week too.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for joining us and listening. Be sure to listen to the podcast on Anchor, and we're also on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and almost anywhere where podcasts can be found. On iTunes, please rate us and leave us a review. It would mean a lot to us. You guys can follow the podcast on our socials at 911LS Roundup on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. As usual, we also have a Discord server, and the link is in the description of this podcast and also in our Instagram bio.
You guys can follow me, Katie, at Full of Tarlos on Instagram and at Full of Tarlos on Twitter.
You guys can follow me, Grace, at RonanRafa911 on Instagram and at Sheepgirl31 on Twitter.
You can follow me, EJ, at EJ8302 on Instagram and Twitter. Bye.
Bye.